One More has launched their new flagship earbuds, the One More EVO, and the buds do not only look stunning, but they are also packed with features including LDAC and multi-point support. I did every test I could during the last week or two, and I also compared the new buds to some of their major competitors I've had at hand, so let's see how the One More EVO stacks up against the best out there. My name is Andy, and you're watching Andy's Tech Tone. What struck me first upon opening the box was obviously the design of the buds. I got the white version, and by the way, I got the buds from the manufacturer itself for this test, but I'm not getting paid for the review, and no one got any preview privileges either. So here I got these white buds with the white ceramic cover and this golden accent, which make them look almost jewelry-like. I'm not a jewelry type person, but regardless of my taste, the EVO buds are beautifully crafted. I have to give this one to One More. And they also come in black in case you were wondering. The build quality is excellent and premium materials were used all around, such as ceramic, aluminum alloy and high quality plastic. Long-term comfort is outstanding. I did not run into any issues whatsoever as the buds sit nicely in my ear canals without causing any type of discomfort even after using them for hours on end. The fit is secure and tight enough for most activities, and the buds can also handle some basic, not too intense workouts, such as a Saturday morning easy run. The EVO buds come with an IPX4 rating, which makes them splash and sweat-proof. We get 5 sets of silicone ear tips in the box, which gives you a great deal of flexibility in terms of finding the best fitting ones for your own ears. Onto the battery case, it's a pretty average looking one, and the build quality does not really match that of the earbuds, but it's compact enough to be carried around in a small pocket. The hinge on the lid is a tiniest bit loose, or at least it is on my sample, so it does not come to a hard stop when fully open, and it might flop around sometimes. But at the same time it's springy enough, which makes it easy to open and close even with one hand. It's easy to grab the buds and put them back in, so everyday use is hassle-free. The case can be charged wirelessly on any Qi-compatible charging pad, or you can use the USB Type-C port on the back with the supplied cable if you prefer. In terms of single charge playtime, the best you can get out of the One More EVO buds is around 8 hours using the AAC codec at around 50% volume with the ANC turned off. Turning on ANC will of course affect the battery life as it drops down to 5.5 hours in this scenario. The battery case can charge the earbuds fully 2.5 times, which makes the total battery life 28 hours with ANC off and about 20 hours with ANC on. This performance is only average, but the quick charging feature of the One More EVO can give you an incredible 4 hours of use only after 15 minutes of charging. And that's the best or one of the best I have ever seen. If you opt for using the LDAC codec, you should always expect a significant drop in battery life simply because of the nature of the codec. According to my own tests, you can get 5 hours and 25 minutes of use with ANC turned off and 3 hours and 57 minutes with ANC turned on. All in all, these numbers are okay considering what the main competitors can do, and it easily beats the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro, which is the best match to the EVO, both in terms of price and features. And here you can see all the data I could gather about the battery life of all the earbuds I considered worthy of a comparison. Pause the video now if you want to dig into the details. And now let's move on to the connection. We get Bluetooth version 5.2 with support for SBC, AAC and LDAC, which means that we have a high-res 24-bit 96 kHz capable codec on board. I had no signal-related issues during my tests, and I could pair the buds with both iOS and Android devices easily without a problem. Of course, iOS does not support LDAC, but that's hardly One More's fault. As for the stability and reliability of LDAC, I noticed that with all the same settings, the One More EVO offers a similar performance to that of the Technics EAH-AZ60 or the Liberty 3 Pro. It means that depending on the environment you are in, media playback might stutter a tiniest bit on occasion, but changing from best sound quality to best effort in the LDAC settings on Android will mostly sort out those issues. The Sony WF-1000XM4 comes with a better range and a more stable LDAC connection overall. But what the XM4 cannot do is using LDAC and multipoint together, simply because multi-device connection is not supported on the flagship Sony buds. But one of the key features of the One More EVO is multi-point use. It means that the buds can be connected to two devices at the same time, and switching between the two can happen either automatically when a phone call comes in, for example, or manually. But in order to take advantage of such feature, you have to enable it first in the One More app, where it's kind of hidden inside the experimental features, which might make you believe that the feature is not quite ready yet. And some future tweaking would probably not hurt, but the multipoint works well for the most part as it is. Automatic handoff is not quite smooth yet, but you can switch between your source devices easily, and multipoint even works in single bud mode with each bud separately. And multipoint will still work with LDAC enabled if you have at least one device that is LDAC compatible, such as my Sony Xperia 5 Mark II. There will be some connection issues and signal cutoffs here and there, and the transition from my iPhone 13 Pro Max, for example, will not be as smooth and quick as you might expect, but it will work. Of course, turning off LDAC will iron out all the wrinkles in the multipoint connection, so it might be the best way to approach using this feature. And regardless of the codec we use, latency is low enough to watch videos without lip sync issues or play some games casually. We have 6 microphones on the 2 buds combined, which means good quality phone calls with clear and easy to understand voices. So this was a sound test in a quiet room, and to put this performance into some kind of a context, let's hear a few audio samples from other earbuds as well. Starting with the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro as the main competitor of the One More EVO. So this is what a phone call would sound like through the 6 microphone setup on the Soundcore buds in a quiet room. Next up is the Technics EAH-AZ60 with its 8 microphones in total. So this is what a phone call would sound like on the Technics buds in a quiet environment. Onto the WF-1000XM4, this is what you can expect when it comes to voice transmission quality in a quiet room from Sony's flagship true wireless earbuds. And last, here is what the Jabra Elite 7 Active can do as far as phone call quality is concerned. The 6 microphones can do a really good job in terms of clarity and intelligibility in a quiet room. And let's not forget the side tone feature, which allows you to hear your own voice while making a phone call, making the whole process a bit more comfortable. However, that's not all. Let's see how each of the buds can deal with the elements when we find ourselves making a phone call while on the go.
And this is a sound quality test of the One More EVO outside in windy conditions with some light traffic around. And this is a sound quality test of the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro outside in windy conditions with some light traffic around. And this is a sound quality test of the Technics EAH-AZ60 outside in windy conditions with some light traffic around. And now this is a sound quality test of the Sony WF-1000XM4 outside in windy conditions with some light traffic around. And now this is a sound quality test of the Jabra Elite 7 Active outside in windy conditions with some light traffic around. Onto the controls, we have a touch-sensitive interface built into those glossy ceramic panels on each bud. The controls work fast, they register touches without hesitation. You can remap the functionality of the double and triple tap actions, and you can choose from play, pause, track, volume or voice controls. Single tap is disabled, and long press is reserved for toggling through the different ANC modes on both buds, and it cannot be changed. I set up track and volume controls in the app, which means that I had to sacrifice play, pause. Fortunately, the One More EVO buds come with smart sensors on board, and the behavior of those sensors can be customized in the app too. And that's all okay, but I feel like we should be given the option to use single tap for manual play pause, with a switch for disabling it in case we get too many unintended touches. That's what Soundcore does really well in their smartphone app, and I believe that's the way to do it. At the end of the day, we get the exact same touch control functionality on the flagship EVO than what the QOBUZ Mini can do for about half the price, and maybe that's not that flattering from the EVO's perspective. Another thing that One More does differently is EQing. An average EQ feature normally offers you some presets and a multiband graphic equalizer for creating custom sound profiles. But what we get with One More is the Sound ID technology, which takes us through some audio samples where we have to choose from two different sound signatures again and again until the algorithm can create a personalized profile based on our preferences.
It works pretty well in my opinion, but we can only have one sound profile at all times, and if we want to change it, then we have to go through the whole listening and A/B testing process again, which might take a minute or two. But as soon as you dial in your earbuds, most people should be perfectly happy with the results. However, audio geeks might prefer the more traditional approach, as for example Sony Jabra or Soundcore can give you more flexibility when it comes to personalizing the sound of your earbuds within their apps. Onto the rest of the software features, you get the usual suspects such as firmware updates or quick guides, and in a typical one more fashion, you can also take advantage of those soothing ASMR sounds should you need some background noise to either focus or relax. You can burn in your earbuds using the smart burn-in feature as well if that's your thing. And before I forget, there is the multi-point switch in the experimental features menu as well. One more thing about the One More app is that I found it a bit unstable in terms of holding onto the buds during my tests, as I often found it disconnecting from the buds and then refusing to reconnect again. It was much more of an issue on Android, but it also happened a few times on iOS. So the app is only okay, and I've seen more sophisticated apps before. But there is one feature we haven't touched upon yet, and that's the active noise cancelling. First, there are three main modes: ANC, transparent, and off. Within ANC, we get strong, mild, wind noise reduction, and adaptive. This adaptive mode can automatically adjust the level of noise cancellation according to your surroundings. It does an okay job, but I prefer using the manual settings, mainly because I noticed that the adaptive mode cannot really do anything about wind noise, for example. And to be honest, wind noise can get really prominent and quite a bit distracting at times, but that's where the wind noise reduction mode comes into play, which can get rid of most of those intrusive whistling noises. But it can only do that at the expense of increased general noise levels. Nevertheless, I found it pretty useful during my outside runs. No wind noise, with a bit of an awareness due to the scaled back noise cancelling. And while the ANC performance in the strong setting is not quite at the level of the best on the market such as the Sony XM4, it's not far off at all, and in fact in some situations it's actually pretty hard to tell the difference between the EVO and some of the more expensive ANC buds. The earbuds can dampen all sorts of noises including traffic, crowd, or a simulated airplane cabin noise without any pressure building up inside my ears. Transparency mode has a pass-through setting which will feed in all the surrounding noises, but it doesn't sound quite natural at all, as everything gets a bit muffled and boxy sounding with some boosted rumbling noises. But from a situational awareness standpoint, it gets the job done. And there is also a voice enhancement setting within transparency, which focuses on letting in human voices while it manages to keep out some of those rumbling sounds. Some slight hiss is always present when ANC is active, regardless of what mode we use. However, I did not detect any major shift in sound signature when jumping between the different modes, and that's definitely a good thing. Next up is sound quality. The unique feature of the One More EVO is the two-way speaker setup. We get a 10mm dynamic driver for bass and mid-range duties, and we also get a balanced armature driver for the treble. And thanks to this hybrid setup, the frequency response is extended to 40 kHz. And the sound quality is simply superb. I used QOBUZ, my favorite high-res streaming service, for my audio tests, and I will leave a link in the description in case you would like to get a free trial. But back to the sound of the One More EVO, without any of that sound ID manipulation, the default sound is nicely balanced, detailed, and dynamic already. The bass is snappy and lean with just a healthy amount of power. Extension is good, but I heard better. But more bass doesn't mean better sound in my opinion. I'm perfectly satisfied with the amount of kick I get from the lower registers, but Sound ID can come to your rescue in case you feel like you could use more punch. The mid-range is well defined with nicely balanced vocals and acoustic instruments. Nothing gets pushed back in the mix, or at least not to the extent that I would consider it recessed. The treble is full of energy and sparkle, with extension well beyond what most competitors can do. This on one hand results in a very spacious and lively presentation, but it can get easily a bit too much, especially closer to full volume. It of course depends on the sorts of music you listen to. With well-recorded acoustic music, for example, you will be treated with a greatly detailed and airy sound, but with harsh or too hot recordings, you might find this sort of a sound a bit tiring or bright in the long run. That's where good quality sources such as QOBUZ can come in handy. The dual driver setup delivers a very precise imaging and a wide sound stage with outstanding separation between each and every element of the music. And that's kind of a sound signature I personally like the most. Spacious, detailed, snappy and mostly balanced. And I never really go nowhere near full volume during everyday listening, so the bright highs did never really bother me at all. And there is the Sound ID feature again, which can drastically change the sound of the buds based on your own listening tests and preferences, so if any aspect of the sound is not to your liking, you can easily change that. And now, if you are still with me, let's see some comparisons. When it comes to the competition, the only real alternative in this price range and the most obvious choice for a detailed comparison would be the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro. You can have those buds for $170 as of making this video, which matches the launch price of the EVO. And that's probably not a coincidence. However, you can get an early bird discount of $30 on the one more buds for the first 30 days after their release, so that might be something worth having a look at if you want to grab a set and save some money at the same time. I've got some affiliate links in the description, so go check them out. But back to the comparison with the Liberty 3 Pro, the two earbuds do not only share the same price, but their specifications are also very similar. They both support LDAC and multipoint use, even though the Liberty 3 Pro disables multipoint when LDAC is being used, and vice versa, while the EVO allows you to use the two features simultaneously. Both buds come with a dual driver setup, multiple ANC modes, dual mode transparency, wireless charging, and they share the same IP rating as well. They speak the same general design language, but the one more buds are smaller and lighter. 5.8 grams versus 7.2 grams can be significant when it comes to long-term comfort. And in my case, it makes a difference indeed, as I found the one more EVO more comfortable when using it long term. But the Liberty 3 Pro comes with multiple ear fins in the box, which can provide you with a more secure fit for your workouts. The single charge battery life is pretty much the same as long as we use AAC, but switching to LDAC makes the one more EVO the clear winner here. But in terms of total playtime, thanks to its larger case, the Liberty 3 Pro comes out on top. The touch control remapping is much more sophisticated in the Soundcore app with more options, and that actually applies to the whole app. It offers a wider selection of features including a tip fit test, ANC optimization, and a more flexible set of EQ options. As far as their ANC performance, they deliver very similar results, with maybe more low-frequency hums being blocked by the Liberty 3 Pro and more high-pitched noises dampened by the one more EVO. But we are talking about subtle differences here. In fully transparent mode, noises and voices sound a bit thin on the Liberty 3 Pro, and everything is a bit more loud but also more muffled or boxy on the EVO. Vocal mode removes some of the lower frequencies on both. We can find a wind noise reduction mode on both buds, and that's where I found the one more a touch more efficient. In terms of sound quality, the bass advantage of the Liberty 3 Pro becomes apparent as soon as we start playing music through the buds. It's a matter of personal taste, but it's a bit too far on the boomy side for me, and I prefer the mid-range clarity and the more airy presentation of the one more EVO. Treble extension is also better on the EVO, but again it might get a bit too over the top at times. The two buds are very close to each other as far as overall volume is concerned. Another similarly spec'd set of earbuds are the Technics EAH-AZ60. These buds cost significantly more as they come in at $230, but if you want both LDAC and multipoint, that's your next best option after the one more EVO and the Liberty 3 Pro. What we are missing here is wireless charging though. And while I personally prefer the look of the AZ60, their comfort is simply the worst, at least in my ears. It's not that the Technics buds are that much bigger and heavier than the EVO, they just do not agree with my ear anatomy, that's all. Battery life is more or less the same except for LDAC, where the AZ60 is the easy winner. But we get better quick charging with the EVO, and there is the wireless charging again, which is missing from the AZ60. We get better customization for the touch controls and a more comprehensive set of features in the Technics smartphone app. The AZ60 buds prove to be more reliable in a combined LDAC/multipoint scenario. In fact, these are the only buds that I found actually usable with LDAC and multipoint together. either. With a single device connected, both earbuds perform equally well for the most part. Their ANC performance is not that dissimilar, as there is hardly any discernible difference at any frequencies. Maybe the AZ60 has a slight advantage at the bottom octaves, but that's it. Transparency sounds more natural on the Technics buds, but the intensity again is very similar. Voice enhancement or attention mode is way too over the top on the AZ60, as human voices can get harsh very quickly. There is no specific wind noise reduction mode on the AZ60, but by default, wind noise is handled better than on the One More EVO. Of course, there is the dedicated wind noise reduction mode in the One More app, which can give the advantage to the EVO on certain days and in certain scenarios. When it comes to sound quality, we get more punch in the bass and a touch more forward mids from the AZ60, but there is more detail, air and extension in the higher frequencies on the One More EVO, with better separation and a more three-dimensional soundstage. The EVO buds can also get a tiny bit louder at full volume. Staying closer to the price of the One More EVO, you can find the Jabra Elite 7 Active, which does not support LDAC, but it's got multi-point wireless charging, a good ANC and a smartphone app with probably the best set of features and custom settings of them all. There is also an IP57 rating and a special rubber coating, which makes the Jabra buds the best option for workouts. The Elite 7 Active can deliver a more impressive battery life across the board, except for the LDAC codec, of course. These are the only buds in today's video with actual buttons, which combined with the absolutely insane level of customization within the Jabra app, make them a winner in terms of both the physical and the software controls. The One More buds have a tiniest bit of an advantage in terms of noise cancelling performance across the whole frequency range. Hear-through mode at its maximum setting is more intense on the Jabra, but you can dial it in using a slider if you find it too much. There is no slider on the One More app, but there is voice mode. What is missing from the Jabra app is a wind noise reduction mode, but the Elite 7 Active has a less distracting wind noise by default. And again, when we activate the wind noise reduction in the One More app, we might get rid of all that distraction, but we immediately lose some of the noise cancelling advantage we had over the Jabra. As far as the differences in their sound signature, the One More EVO has a much more enjoyable, balanced and open sound. And even though I believe the Sony WF-1000XM4 does not belong in this comparison due to the big price difference, I know you are going to ask about it, so here we go. The XM4 has the best ANC on the market, everyone knows that. Sony also has one of the best smartphone apps, so there is that too. LDAC was developed by Sony themselves, so of course we can find it on the XM4 as well, along with wireless charging and an IPX4 rating. But the Sony buds are bigger and chunkier and they lack the comfort the One More buds can offer. The Sony buds win the single charge battery life test by quite a margin regardless of settings and codecs, and the same goes for the total playtime as well. The touch controls are a bit crippled on the Sony buds thanks to their limited customization, but other than that the Sony Headphones app is still one of the best on the market as far as functionality and features are concerned. Adaptive sound control, speak to chat, 360 audio, ear tip fit test, find my buds and an equalizer with multiple custom profiles. The XM4 still has a marginal advantage when it comes to general noise cancelling performance, as the Sony buds can tame all sorts of noises ever so slightly more efficiently while creating less hiss in the process. It's blocking higher pitch sounds where the Sony extends its lead, and the XM4 also sounds a bit more natural in transparency mode. Voice mode suppresses noises more effectively while letting human voices in, and Sony wins the wind noise test both by default and with wind noise reduction activated. As for their sound, the bass is stronger on the XM4, but the vocals and the mid-range in general are more pronounced on the One More EVO, and so are the highs. And the EVO can also create a more three-dimensional soundstage with better instrument separation. And I could compare the One More EVO to a countless number of other earbuds in the under $200 range, such as the Beats Fit Pro, the LG FP9, the Libratone Air Plus or the Lipertec Z7, but neither of these buds have LDAC on board, nor do any of them support multi-point use, and honestly, the One More EVO would easily wipe the floor with any of these when it comes to general performance. Despite its lesser specs, I might have included the Sennheiser CX Plus if I had them at hand at the time of making this video, but I did not. I know some of you would have been interested in that one, but it is what it is. As for the Bang & Olufsen Beoplay EQ, I would refuse to compare those buds to the One More EVO, even if I had not sent them back asking for a refund right after their review, and the reason is simply the massive price difference between the two earbuds. And talking about a gap in price, there is the Edifier NeoBuds Pro for $110 with dual drivers, LDAC support and a decent ANC feature, but you won't get multipoint nor there is wireless charging on offer, and the Edifier app is not the best either. I did not have a chance to get my hands on either the new Sennheiser Momentum 3s or the also new Bang & Olufsen EX, so please don't even ask me about those in the comments. But it's time to wrap up this test now. I would say that the One More EVO is probably the best option for most people for the money as of today. It comes with a plethora of features, neither of which are gimmicky. LDAC, multipoint, adaptive ANC, dual mode transparency, wind noise reduction, wireless charging, 6 microphones, Sound ID, 2-way speakers, IPX4 rating and who knows what else. Battery life is not the best, but it's good enough, and there is the best-in-class quick charging feature. And on top of all that, the earbuds are extremely comfortable, the design is elegant, build quality is top-notch, the sound is superb, and again, you get almost all the features there are. And it costs no more than any of the other flagship models, and it actually costs significantly less than most of the big boys out there, which makes them highly recommended. I wouldn't go as far as to announce them as earbuds of the year just yet, but they will definitely be considered even if the big brands come out with new and updated flagship models during the next couple of months. But in the meantime, I could safely give them a best buds for your buck badge if such thing existed. Well, look, here it is. Yeah! And that concludes my review of the One More EVO. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you feel like I deserve it. And even though I did my best to answer most questions you might have, I'm pretty sure that the discussion will be continued in the comment section below, so feel free to share your thoughts as well. Thanks for watching, see you next time.